Good morning. Happy Monday, Mug Club. This is kind of the re-engagement of it. We actually did an event last night and had kind of a viewing party of a really great WSDOT training that was done also by the Washington State Department of Health. If you get a chance, I'd really encourage you to go and watch the video. It's a really great kind of look at what's happening with the pandemic for all of us emotionally, and also then how that impacts our work-life balance and how that really, um, is setting us up for, I guess, kind of our new normal right now. So with Monday Mug Clubs, my hope is that as we re-engage with this process, that we can create a safe space for people to come and chat about things. A couple of topic items that I'm thinking about moving forward with. Again, today's topic is kind of roughly about mental awareness and mental and acuity through this process of the pandemic. I did want to check in with everybody and just say, hopefully we all made it through whatever the holiday looked like for each of you. And hopefully you were able to create maybe a new opportunity to connect with your family a little bit differently, and or created space to change up rituals that maybe you wanted to keep moving forward with, even post-pandemic. I know for me, it was kind of one of those weird things because typically I do a really big party the day after Thanksgiving. So Thanksgiving, I typically volunteer. And then on Friday, I end up doing a Friendsgiving where I open up the home and I invite people in. And it's usually a time where I feel like my home is just like palpably alive. So it feels like you can just feel the tingling of energy, and that's typically what I use to get myself through the winter months, is that I come back to that feeling of that good energy from Friendsgiving. And I know that as not having that opportunity to do that changes how I have to really think about bringing in energy into my space for the winter, as we all come indoors for the winter, as it gets colder and it gets rainier and we get less willing to be out in the inclement weather. I guess I'm going to challenge each of us to really figure out what can we do to really take care of ourselves through the dark months, but also how do we bring that light into our homes through that dark time. I know there was a really great group of folks that I saw that have been doing lights already, so that they've already been putting out Christmas lights, which is fantastic. I'm actually kind of usually a weird Scrooge. I don't do a lot of Christmas decorations, but I think this year I may go ahead and pull some of the ornaments and everything out from the back of the basement. But I think as we just kind of all journey through this, I wanted to re-engage Mug Club. And I know today it's a pretty light day, but I just kind of wanted to re-up some things. Morning, Ken.
Good morning.
So I am recording, and I was just kind of going through like why I'm re-engaging Mug Club, and just to kind of create a space for Monday mornings for folks to show up and just kind of chat, and nothing formal necessarily. I know that in the past we've had guest speakers, and I think we'll do that again this winter just to kind of get people thinking. I know probably one of our most watched Mug Clubs was with a friend who's an epidemiologist. And so we might bring her back on. And then, I'm also looking for topics. So if you have something that you're like, hey, let's, on Monday, let's chat about these few things, I'd be up for that. And I know I did kind of a poor job of trying to get the word out about today because out about yesterday. But
so I have one thought, but this is my like complete bias in making sure that people have access to healthcare, right, during the pandemic or in general. I manage benefits for a living, and so it's super important to me. But knowing that open enrollment through the state exchange is open now through December 15th, I think is really important for people to know. So that's a topic of discussion. And I would be happy, like, if people are like, oh, I don't know, I don't have benefits, I need help, whatever, I'm happy to help them, connect them to the resources to be able to complete that process too. So that's something that's
That's
available.
awesome. Could you give me a little snippet? Because I know I'm always like, because I've been with my job for the last 15 years, I'm also one of those people who I never switch my plan.
Yep.
Do you walk people through like why you would switch and where you would go to and what other coverage is available?
Um, Sort of. So basically, as I manage our employer benefits, right? So with the ACA, things are very tricky and complicated, but essentially, if you have access to a plan through your work that is considered affordable, you don't qualify for coverage in the state exchange, at least not with a tax credit. Depending on how you answer the questions, can change that. They're going to ask for some documents. But let's say, for instance, that you are covered through your work and your spouse is not covered through their work, or it's just so inaccessible for you to be able to cover your spouse from a financial perspective. Um, you have the option to basically register, create an account. They're going to ask like about you, and you're just saying, I'm not looking for benefits for me, but my spouse needs coverage, and they're going to get some income information, and then they're going to determine based on income, number of dependents, et cetera, if they're qualified to receive a plan, either Apple Health, which is free, or one of the other options in the marketplace at a potentially reduced rate, because you're getting a tax credit applied every month, essentially. Um, and so that option might be, it's really a balance, and it's kind of up to the person, right? So what I would say is that I found typically, unless you're qualified for Apple Health, the plan options that are available to you might be less expensive from a monthly premium standpoint versus what you might pay to cover your spouse through work. But the out of pocket costs might be higher because your deductible may be higher, your out of pocket maximum might be higher, your copays might be higher. So you'll pay maybe $230 a month for a plan that's less comprehensive through the exchange, whereas you might pay $500 to $600 a month through your employer to add your spouse. And so it's all unique to that particular person and their family dynamic and kind of what options are available to them. And it does get really nuanced and tricky. So I can do like an overview of like, you're going to find options, and it's really important that you know what your employer plan is versus what the exchange options are, because you're going to have questions about specific coverages for medications, for doctors, for what's my cost going to be for this versus that. So it gets really, really tricky. But if you don't have insurance and you need it and it's not available through work, you at least have the option to apply through the state through December 15th. So
That's awesome. Would you be willing, so like maybe next Monday, if we promote it, would you be willing to kind of do a more comprehensive kind of walkthrough on that? Because I do think that that is something that, especially with all of us in a pretty big space of need right now, just having somebody who understands that, gives them tips and things. Do you have time maybe next Monday to do that?
let me look. I am actually,
We can also switch the time around too, if that works better for you.
yeah, let me see. I need to check in. I have a meeting at that time, but it's from someone who no longer works here, but I'm not sure if the person who took that over intends on keeping it or not. So let me do some check in and I can follow up tomorrow.
That'd be fantastic. Yeah. And I think part of what I wanted to do today also with like the relaunching of Mug Club is exactly what just happened, which is like I want to have community folks who are resources really kind of share some of that information. And I was just talking with Kristen just a little while ago about also looking into maybe a topic around those of us who are dealing with aging parents and how do we kind of navigate some of those things. And I actually think the healthcare topic might be super helpful for that also,
Hmm.
because there are quite a few of us who are becoming more actively engaged with trying to help our parents figure some of these things out. And so I think the knowledge that you have and could share with the greater community would be awesome if you're up for that.
Yeah, I will caveat and say that I'm not as familiar with the Medicare like piece of it. So like aging parents might be like, oh, they're in their 50s, early 60s and not quite yet Medicare age. But when they hit the Medicare age, I'm usually like, you're gonna have to go to someone else because I don't. No, I know there's an eligibility window, but the impacts of Part A, B, your supplemental plans and all of that, I know they exist. I have no idea what the specifications are around them. But I do know that you can apply through the exchange or your employer or your spouse's things. And so we have some, we work with and employ a lot of people who are refugees and immigrants. Um, and so it's often our employee pays for themselves, but their spouse doesn't have coverage anywhere because they're a gig worker. They're in the process of getting their work authorization and their social and not required to be on our plan, but our cost to add them is outrageously expensive and they can't afford it. And so it's like, okay, well, here's where I'm going to like navigate you to and help. The state exchange is going to determine what you can and can't do. And these are the prospects. So I was able to help at least 4 of our employees who were like, hey, I want to add my spouse. And they're like, this is what it's going to cost. And they're like, oh, okay, well, let's go through the exchange and see what we can do. So, yeah, it's just super important and it's complicated. And I get frustrated with the whole system of how it works in our country. Just not accessible across the board. But
Yeah, I think you're hitting some high points of everybody's frustration right now, especially within the pandemic time period, right? Is that like our healthcare system was broken before this. Like you said, the ACA tried to fix it, and we're fixing it with duct tape and chewing gum at this point. And yeah, I think if you can help folks just kind of navigate some of that stuff, I would be greatly appreciative of that. And I think that'd be a topic that folks, I think, could really um, gain some good information. And like you said, there's that deadline, right? So I think it's really important to say, let's have this conversation before the deadline comes and passes. So that way we can get people kind of up and running. If you're up for that, I think that'd be an awesome topic for next week.
yeah, I mean,
Again,
it's
if you
kind
can
of
look at
on
that.
the border of that timeline too. So that would be really good. Yeah. And I will say that some
Yeah.
people probably have already, most people have already completed their open enrollment through work. So that may not be something that's available to them anymore, but the exchange is still potentially. Yeah. So I'd be happy to.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll check your calendar and let's see if that kind of works. I know the way that, again, we've been doing kind of, or that we did Monday Mug Club when the pandemic first started was just like super casual conversation of having one guest speaker who kind of talked for like maybe 15, 20 minutes and then allowed for questioning of
Mhm.
folks in the chat. And we would have on average like 10 to, I think at one of the talks we had like 30 to 40 people. So it can get, a little wild and crazy, but not too bad. And then I know like we were also posting it on Facebook. And so people would also watch it on Facebook and get more information gleaned that way too.
Mhm.
So it's It's a super informal process. It's just something that basically Mug Club came about because I was bored.
Fair.
Yeah. Oh, Kristen says it's because I was social.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
that too.
I like people.
Hi, Kristen.
Hi. Good morning.
Happy
Yeah, and
Monday.
time wise, I'm also flexible because I had just been doing it right around 10 because it seemed like that was kind of a time where people had a break in their day because they would get up in the morning and either get kids situated for school and get themselves situated for work. And then this would be like a kind of deep noon or whatever time works for whoever our speaker is.
Yeah. Yeah, I usually start my day pretty early, so this is an odd time for me typically, just because I start at 7, so I'm usually like break time a little bit earlier than that, and then my lunch is usually like 11:30. So, but I can be flexible with that too. So I just have to let my boss know kind of when I'm not available. So, yeah.
Well, and again, I think we can be super flexible. I mean, we see all the people who showed up this morning.
Right.
We can be flexible, you and I.
Yeah. Woo.
And if we can just like, and again, if you're okay with me recording it and then just putting that up there when we're done, I think that would be really nice. So let's futurescape for maybe next Monday at whatever time works for you, and we
Okay.
can be flexible around that.
Okay. I'll wear a hat.
No, not necessary. I mean, this is my hair after, gosh, I don't know. I can't figure out what I'm gonna do with my hair these days because I'm trying to kind of grow the top out, and I've been giving myself my own haircuts.
Hmm.
And it's not been bad, but it's also not good right now.
Yeah, the COVID hair.
Uh-oh, I lost you.
Oh,
There we
the COVID hair is not ideal. I think I had a haircut pre jaw surgery, and so like probably sometime in September, and then surgery in October, and here we are in December, and I'm like, okay, I'm ready for this.
Well, I do know, do you have a good hair person here in Tacoma?
So I actually the person I went to was Wayne, who's another queer in Tacoma. Yeah. Do you have another suggestion?
So our friend Georgette has her own little barber shop. Kind of, she converted her garage into this barber shop that's like just a super sweet little space. And I just don't know. I don't know how frequently she's having folks in because she's really trying to adhere to as
Mhm.
much COVID processes as possible. So, but she's done a really good job. She's done a really great job on my hair the couple of times I've gone. I mean, I typically just don't get my hair cut all that often, anyways, because I'm lazy about it. It's not high on my priority list. But
Yeah.
now that I'm on Zoom meetings, it's a bit higher on my priority list.
I usually used to go once a month, at least. And yeah, I'm not keeping to that schedule, and I'm hating it.
Well, and it's interesting because I know like once you get into a routine of it, it really is like it is a social connection, right? Like
Mhm.
going to get your haircut isn't about just getting your haircut. It's about making that connection. And I think, even in thought processes of like context of the video we watched last night, like everything we do is a social contract, right?
Yeah.
And so that social contract is a little bit wonky right now. I listened this morning to an On Being podcast about, the resiliency of us as humans as we evolve through this pandemic. And it was really interesting listening to Krista Tippett and the guest talk about all of these social contracts and how we're rewriting contracts as a community right now and what that looks like.
Yeah. It's really odd. going in and sitting down and being like masked fully makes it really fun for those of us who like have sideburns and beards. Like beard trimming is not a thing that happens at the salon anymore, unless you're, you know, breaking some COVID rules, which I
Great.
am not when I go in. So it's the shift of, okay, now I'm doing my own beard, and also like we're talking, but like trying not to talk because you're like all up in my grill.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah. Well, and how, like, I had an experience because I had to go to the dentist last week.
Mhm.
And how were you feeling with jaw surgery? Because I mean, that's like, talk about exposure of like,
Yeah. So my orthodontist, I feel really comfortable at. Like I go in, they have really strict protocols in place. There's like this mouthwash thing, and that felt really good. I will say that oral surgeon's office doesn't feel as like on top of their game with it, and I think it's because of their different approach. Like they don't handle much in office with relation to like being in your mouth and surgery and that kind of stuff, and so they just don't have the same protocols in place. The hospital did when I went in for my surgery, and that felt okay. But today's my last, like, hopefully last during COVID visit with the oral surgeon at their office. So it's fine. I mean, they're wearing masks and they're keeping distance, except for when they're, you know, looking at my mouth. But yeah, it did feel very weird. But I definitely wanted to get it done. I was like, of all of the things that we've sacrificed during the COVID year, I have been planning on this surgery for 11 years, and we made this appointment like last year, and I am not missing this surgery if I can at all have it done. And that was just kind of a sacrifice I was willing to make because I wanted it, and like I this needed to happen for me this year. So we did it. But
nice.